Okay, hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fortnite Mythbusters. In today's episode, I've done a whole ton of myths that actually took me a while to do. A lot of these are actually very difficult. So with that being said, if you do have a myth you would like me to test in the next or future episodes of the Fortnite Mythbusters, make sure to go down in the comments down below and drop a comment of that myth for a pretty good chance to be featured. Also, if you are a part of that 80% of my viewers who are not subscribed to the channel, feel free to consider subscribing and turning on those post notifications. We're trying to hit 1 mil by the end of 2020. That would be unreal. As well, don't forget to leave a like. Let's see if we could smash 25,000 likes for today's episode. That would be insane. But without further ado, guys, let's get right on into today's video. Kicking things off, jumping straight into the first myth. The first myth is, can a henchman or boss die to drowning? Now, if you don't know already, a regular player can actually die to drowning, and we found that out a long time ago as well in the last episode of the Fortnite Mythbusters when we attempted to tie a game by drowning ourselves. Doing this myth actually took me multiple games to do, and it was pretty difficult as well. First, I had to make a box in the water and quite a bit of a platform, and then pull a henchman all the way over to the platform and get him to land in the water. From there, I have to block the henchman's head underwater, that way he starts drowning. But the most difficult thing about this is that the henchman will non-stop try and break his way out, and the water will eventually, make him phase into the staircase that is holding them under. So for this myth, I think it's almost impossible to actually have a henchman drown, just because the water will keep pushing them back up as soon as they break the floor or whatever you're using to hold them underwater, and they'll end up just phasing through that wall, that floor, that cone, whatever it is. I tried this a couple of times, and every single time I was getting the exact same outcome. Going straight into the next myth. The next myth is, what happens when the door to a disguise booth gets blocked off while you're inside? Will you get stuck inside, or what happens? Now, certain disguise booths around the map, especially this one at the little dock at the agency, you were actually able to build literally directly in front of it, and in some ways you could actually block it off with like a stair or a cone, and it won't even let you jump inside of it. If you do end up being inside of a disguise booth and someone blocks you off with like a cone or a stair, no need to worry, because as soon as you were finished putting on the disguise or taking it off and you walk out, it'll automatically just destroy that build no matter what it is. It could be full metal stairs, full metal cone, wall, whatever it is, the booth will destroy immediately. I thought this was pretty interesting. I mean, imagine being stuck inside of a disguise booth and then the player comes by, runs over, and breaks whatever the build is. Then you just jump out and kill them. That could make for some pretty insane plays, and I guess maybe I could see that happening sometime in the future. Overall, I thought this myth was actually pretty interesting and something that I thought a lot of you guys may have wanted to see. Going into the next myth, the next myth is, if you hate a boss or a henchman with a tomato, will the display name pop up in the elimination feed like a regular player? If you didn't play Fortnite during chapter 1, the old battle passes, some of them, they would include things like basketballs, basically props and stuff, as well as water balloons, snowballs, tomatoes, I think even apples or something, and you could throw these at other players, and it doesn't really do much, but it shows your name in the elimination feed. The interesting thing is when I did go out to try this out on like a regular shadow henchman or even a ghost henchman, first I had to put on a disguise, that way they would not notice me. I then ran over to the henchman, threw the tomato, and in chat it actually did show that the tomato hit the shadow henchman, as well as the snowball and even the water balloon. I found this pretty interesting because I then had my friend disguised as a shadow henchman, the exact same henchman. I then threw a water balloon directly at him, and it said his in-game name rather than shadow henchman. So maybe the next time you're at the agency or the grotto or something where someone could disguise as the boss and kind of play and act like it, because that seems to be a trend nowadays ever since I think Laserbeam made a video on it. If they're walking weird and you don't want to shoot them but you want to see if they're a real player, consider throwing a water balloon at them to see if it's really a ghost henchman or a regular player. Going into the next myth, the next myth is, will the Yacht keycard from Meows as well as Deadpool stack on top of each other, or will they be separate in your inventory, because both of them say Yacht keycard? Now, I found this myth actually pretty interesting because if you don't know, Meows used to live at the Yacht, then Deadpool kicked him out, but whenever you do kill Meows at his own lair or whatever, he still has the Yacht keycard. So basically there's 2 Yacht keycards in a single game. When you do end up going over to Deadpool while you have Meows's Yacht keycard and you do kill him, they do not stack on top of each other, and the main reason why is because they aren't the same keycard, but they are, if that makes any sense. Deadpool's keycard looks different than Meows's. You know, it has the Deadpool logo as well as its, you know, black and red, while Meows's is just the old Yacht keycard, nothing too special. But they do end up opening the exact same vault. They do have the exact same functionality, just they don't stack on top of each other. I mean, honestly, why in a real game would you even be carrying 2 vault keycards anyways? Going into the next myth, the next myth is, what happens when you reboot your teammate after you get a victory royale? Will they be able to move around? In the last episode of the Fortnite Mythbusters, we found out that you could actually pick up a reboot card after you win a game. So ever since then, I've been flooded with comments asking for me to try and reboot a player after you get a victory royale. When I tried this out, I had my second account get knocked by a henchman. I then, you know, went over to the reboot machine, and I was in a custom matchmaking. So as soon as my teammate dies, the game basically ends. That's just kind of how the custom matchmaking works. I then immediately picked up my teammate's reboot card, which allowed me to, I was able to reboot my squad members, who was my second account. And as soon as, you know, the end screen popped up, it fully canceled out the animation. I was no longer able to continue rebooting him. What's weird is that my second account screen, which unfortunately I did not record, it was on my phone, it showed that it was still in the reboot mode, so it didn't automatically come back to spectate my player. It kind of continued spectating the exact same angle that you would see as if you were being rebooted. Going into the next myth is, when you shake someone down, will you still see their teammate? If they're using a shadow bomb, will the red dot still appear? Now, rumor has it is that the shadow bombs are actually going to return next season. Supposedly there was something messed up in the files, at least from what I heard from a friend. Don't really you know, quote me on that one, but this should be really good to know, and it might help you out in a real game. Shadow bombs, at least in creative, still behave the exact same way as they used to. You throw them down and then the timer takes out, and the player will slowly fade back into the real world. My second account, as well as my friend, they were on their own team while I was over here by myself. I then knocked one of the enemy teammate members. I then started to shake him down, and mid animation while shaking him down, I had my friend automatically throw down the shadow bomb, and the red dot didn't appear anywhere. You could see him jump by to the side for just a second. My friend fully came out of the shadow bomb form and then threw it down once again, and the red dot still was not appearing over his head. So the shadow bomb might be a good way to you know, avoid getting seen if the enemies do shake down your teammate and you guys do have communication to let each other know. Going into the next myth, and surprisingly a highly requested myth, this myth is, does shooting a player on Spawn Island count towards your accuracy stats at the end of the game? Now, honestly, there's nothing much really special about this myth, so I'll keep it pretty quick and simple for you guys. I picked up a rifle, you know, on Spawn Island. I then had my friend, who was on an enemy team, we were in the solos, just sit there while I shot the crap out of him. From there, we landed at the rig, and I did not hit him once. I did not hit a single thing, and he then died to a shadow henchman, you know, immediately. Well, almost immediately. The shadow henchman had probably the worst aim I've ever seen in the game. And usually at the end of the game, you know, depending on how good your accuracy is, it'll show you, it'll have a percentage. But in this case, there was no percentage. It still showed 0%. And the damage to players, the headshots, all of that was completely zero as well. Going into a highly requested myth, and a myth that was very difficult to do. This myth is, can you rocket ride a henchman or a boss? Now guys, this myth took us 2.5 hours to do. We did multiple games. We searched literally every single vault on the map, every single game, all of them except like one usually because of the zone, and we would never really find a rocket launcher. That was kind of the thing holding us back from actually doing this myth. From there, after we found a rocket launcher, we basically would set up the door area for you to rocket ride, you know, a player or a henchman. And the thing was, we had to knock the henchman so he would stand still on top of the door, and he would continue moving around. Every single time we would put him on the door and I would shoot the rocket, he would just walk away, or the rocket would somehow clip him and the henchman would not even move. There were some times where the rockets literally went really close to the henchman, and I have no clue how they didn't take off, but we eventually got some sort of an outcome. We finally knocked down Midas. We set up the exact same routine, and the very first rocket that I ever set out, we were actually able to launch Midas for just a second. The rocket stood underneath him, and he decided to walk off on his own. Like, dude, you would have gone for a really, really fun ride. Honestly, I hope this outcome satisfies you guys enough. I don't think you could get much better than this because the henchman or the boss, they will end up crawling away just because it's their natural instinct too. And it's literally an AI. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. Turn on those post notifications to never miss another episode of the Fortnite Mythbusters, and I will see you guys next time.